Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you to our witnesses. During this administration, many believe the SEC has rushed into sweeping rule changes without properly engaging with industry, other regulators, or the public. Why is the SEC pushing reforms without proving they are necessary is a frequent question that we get. The custody rule was withdrawn after regulatory objections, and the predictive data analytics rule was scrapped due to public backlash. Yet the SEC continues pressing forward, planning to finalize equity market structure rules without waiting for critical Rule 605 data. If implemented, these rules could introduce volatility and possibly harm investors. So, Chairman Gensler, good to see you. Why is the SEC rushing these equity market structure changes without waiting for updated 605 trading data?
Good to see you as well. We put forward a number of rules. I'm very proud that last week this commission unanimously voted in, first time in 20 years, changes in the national market system that I think will lower cost in the system, allowing market makers to quote stocks in a tighter bid-ask spread. This is relieving or relaxing a restriction that was put in the market 20 years ago and lowering the costs in the markets. I think the data that you're talking about for individuals to get better execution quality data is important, but was addressing a separate matter. It was about individual investors getting better data. But I think that it was time to move forward and update these rules, these 20-year-old rules. Volume in the market had gone up fourfold. A lot had changed in the 20 years.
Okay, but getting the rules right, using the current data, is more important than just updating, you would say?
Well, it's also important that the data was for individual investors to compare and contrast their broker-dealers. The second rule that we did last week unanimously is really going to relieve a restriction. This is something that you and I probably would agree on. You'd want to, we were taking off a restriction that you couldn't quote in less than a penny. Now you can quote, well, in November of 2025, you'll be able to quote in
Do you think you got a consensus out there that agrees with that?
I'm sorry?
Do you think you have a consensus out there that agrees with your conclusion and assessment?
On last week's update of the national market system, there was a broad, we got over 5,000 comments, but we had very significant support on relieving this restriction and allowing for lower bid-ask spread, and then even lowering the fees in the field. I took note even after we voted. I saw something from the Managed Funds Association, the trade association representing hedge funds, that supported what we did last week.
All right, thank you, Chairman. Commissioner Peirce, do you believe the SEC has addressed the industry and public concerns over the equity market structure rules, especially given some of the lack of the updated data from the 605 market data?
I mean, I think the point that you're making is a really important one. I did support last week's rule because I think it's a net beneficial rule, but one of the things that I wanted us to do is to build into that a way to go back and make sure it's doing what we intended and not having adverse effects. But we proposed a whole set of equity market structure rules that will remake the markets if we go forward with them. And what people have been telling us is you need to slow down. Our markets work quite well. And so if you're going to make a change, take a breath, get the data you need, get the public input you need, have the roundtables you need, and then move forward. And so I do worry that we're rushing forward with equity market structure changes.
Good. And the volume pricing rule, does it solve a market problem that exists?
I mean, as I pointed out when we proposed that, there's volume pricing in lots of different parts of our markets, and we don't have problems with it in other parts of our markets. So it's not strange to see volume prices in our equity markets.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Yoda, do you believe the SEC's approach to finalize these rules properly balances the market stability with investor confidence?
Well, some of the rules I have supported, but in part because there's been robust comment. In fact, some of them go back to initiatives under the Trump administration. For instance, T+1, that was something that under the Trump administration they suggested we look at moving faster when we went to T+2. Treasury clearing under Secretary Mnuchin, he also broached that idea as a
Thank you.
recommendation.
I'm out of time. Thank you, Chairman. I yield back.
We'll now recognize